Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? Good morning, online. Good morning. I hope everyone are doing good. So, did you guys completed your practicals? Completed? Everyone? How about you online? So now you got habituated of how to write the variables, how to write main.tf, right? And then how to segregate the files, directory structure, right? Uh, you created main.tf, and then you know how to write outputs. You know how to write variables, variable.tf, variables.tf vards. Yes or no? Okay, so in our last class, we were supposed to cover another small topics, which you can do it by yourself. It's nothing very easy. So remember in our last class, we did dev.tfsvar, prod.tfsvar, and then test.tfsvar, right? So there you have something called input variable. What's that? So we have mentioned variables.tf and also tf vars. And then the main.tf in the resources, we call that variable. How do we call the variable? Var dot and then variable name. Yes or no? So if you don't, so input variable meaning here, if you remove, basically, if you remove variables, if in the variables.tf or tf vars, no values are defined, then we need to provide the values or not. If there is no tf vars, assume that if there is no tf vars, so we need to provide the values or not. So you can provide that values as a input variable. What's that? How Terraform apply auto approve -var. So we have variable name called instance type. We need to pass the variable -var instance count 1. How many variables that you have defined in the variable.tf? Those many values that you need to provide. So for applying also, for destroying also. Because assume that you have deleted tf vars. So how does the Terraform knows the values? So you need to provide it or not. So if you are providing on the command prompt, that is called what? Input variable. Say that. So there is something called environment variable using what command? Export command we have seen in many times in Linux. Yes or no? So if you want to create a environment variable, what we do? So we'll give the export name is equal to, or any key is equal to value. So that variables will be, the variables will be stored locally or not. Actually, this concept will not be using real time. So here I have just mentioned export tf vars AMI. I am providing what here? AMI ID. So I have created a variable called tf vars AMI. So guys, I provided this I provided this command on the Linux based, like on the Linux. It is not on the Terraform. It is on the Linux. So can I use that AMI here? var.ami? Yes or no? As it is created, as I have created the environment variables locally here, so I can use that var.ami also. I provide that AMI. But is a good way to do it? Is a good way to create environment variables for the variables? No. So just for your references, I have given this. You can try it out. So we have done also output variables. I forgot to copy paste this, right? So output variables, we have output variables, right? So basically, see, you know this provider, resource. I'm not using any, guys, see here for the next coming things, we'll be using var.tf, we will use tf vars, that we'll be doing in the real time, but we need to learn the subject, right? So for that reason, I'll write everything in the main.tf, okay? So here, what I put? Output. What is the name here? Instance information. What this resource block is doing, can you tell me? Huh? What this block is doing? EC2 instance will be launched or not? Simple as that. No. What is it? We have mentioned the AMI instance. What it is created AWS instance. So it will launch the EC2 instance. So and with the tag name called output variable example server. It is just launch an EC2 instance. So if you want to get information output about that EC2 instance, like you want a public IP, you want private IP, you want the DNS name. If you want to get that output, what we need to put here? Output instance information value is equal to, remember output you always get AWS instance dot my instance dot, what's that? Public IP. Have we done this or not? Output variables we haven't mentioned. We have read, right, in last class. Okay, let's do one thing. We'll do this also. Okay. So let's go install GitHub. Okay. Terraform is getting installed. So now what is the task that we'll be doing? With the concept is Terraform output variable. Say that. Say that again. Terraform output variables. So in the variables, we have seen so many outputs already in the first, second day, in the last Saturday. What we did, we created so many variables examples, right? And all the variables example, we saw the outputs or not. What is that block? Output block only. Either you can input that output block in the main.tf, or you can put at a separate output.tf files also you can put it. So let's give an example, real-time example with the output. So what's the first thing that we need to do? Main.tf. So now you are experienced, right? Tell me. Provider AWS. Okay, next what we do now? Region is equal to AP minus south minus 1. Okay, so here what we do is, you know how to launch an EC2 instance. Can you tell me the resource block for an EC2 instance? Resource AWS underscore instance. Next, name of it. So we call it as label in the brackets. We need to provide what? What is that called? AMI called? Of course, what is here? What I'm writing? Arguments. What is that? Arguments. So AMI is equal to, we'll put the AMI ID. Next, instance type is equal to, so T2 micro. Okay, now, and then we'll mention what here? Tags. What do we mention here? Tags. So, okay, tell me, tags name is equal to what we write? Output example server. Okay, now. So now we wrote this resource block, and now what we need to do is we need output. So what this will do now? This will launch an EC2 instance. Did you give any count here? No. So it will launch how many EC2 instances? Only one. So when you launch the EC2 instance, and if you want to get the information about this EC2, you want to get it as an output. So what do we need to mention? Output block we need to mention. What we need to block? Output block we need to mention. Say that output. So what I need is, I need instance information. Can you tell me generally what are the information that we need? Instance IP, instance ID, instance private IP, instance DNS name, whatever the properties that you want to use, you can use it. Okay. So, but how do we print that? So what's the argument you need to put here? Value. So value is equal to, in brackets. How do we output it, Nana? So we need to use the resource type dot label name. Tell me what's the resource type there? AWS underscore instance dot my instance dot. So my instance has been launched or not? So, and we need the property of it. What I need, for example, I need what? Public IP. So what I need to put here? Public underscore IP. If you want this. And you need, let's say, private IP. Can you tell me how to put, right? AWS underscore instance dot my instance dot, what is it here? Private underscore IP. I need the DNS. Then AWS underscore instance dot instance dot my instance dot what's that? Public underscore public underscore DNS. So yes, Naveen, you'll get all the properties from the Terraform documentation. So, but if you want to get all, so you just need to put what? AWS underscore instance dot my instance, enough. You will get everything. Otherwise, you can put it individually like this. Okay. Is it clear how to write the output? So what we do now? First, what we need to do? Terraform. What we need to do? Init. So it is initialized. So what we do next? So Terraform, if you want, okay, let's go with validate for any kind of errors. Okay. So what we do now? Terraform, apply --, auto -- approve. So now it will launch an EC2 instance and it will give the output of that EC2 instance. Simple as. So let's say, for example, in real time, you will be AMI, it is not mentioned, right? So good. So we'll take we can mention the property for this. We'll do the example. So do you see changes to output? So what's the label name here? Instance information. So we have given 3 values, right? So 3 values will be known after applying it. So here AWS underscore instance, my instance is getting created. So this is the resource. And if you want to get the values for this resource, you need to put dot whatever the properties that you want. Okay. So did you practice well? Previous class, right? Variables and then how to segregate the variables and then TFRs and everything. So if you need directory structure, so this one I wrote everything in main.tf. So let's go actually a real-time example of creating, let's say for example, S3 bucket. What's that? Remember, Terraform is mainly used for what purpose? To creating the infrastructure of AWS. So creating infrastructure meaning here, what are this infrastructure mainly we create? EC2 instances, VPCs, what? And S3 buckets, RDS, all this. Terraform is all about only with these things only, right? So we should know how properly that structure base we will be using it. And do you see the instance information? You got what here? Public IP, you got what? Private IP, and you got public DNS. Like this, if you want to print anything property of that particular resource, so you can use that outputs here. In real time, what did you use? You created a VPC, right? And you created a lot of things. And if you want to see the outputs, so you need to use that outputs. Clear? So what I do is now I'll destroy it. How to destroy? Terraform. So now what I do is, let's take a real environment, and then what we do is we will create a S3 bucket. What's that? We will create what? S3 bucket. But not. It is very easy to create an S3 bucket in main.tf. Instead of putting resource type as AWS instance, we need to use what? S3 resource. Yes or no? Resource block. Till now what we use? EC2 instance to launch, right? We have a launch EC2 instance. But now we need to create what? S3 bucket. AWS underscore bucket. But I can write that directly in main.tf. It's very easy to do it. But let's not do like this. Let's do how we do it in the real time. So in real time, what we do we write everything in one file or multiple files? Can you list down what are those multiple files? Main.tf. Tell me. Main dot. Why did I open? I have my own weapon, right? Okay. Tell me now. First is main.tf. Next, variables.tf. Next, terraform.tfvars. Next, which one? Test. Why test? Acha. Oh, you mean TF-vars? No, one file is fine, but I showed you how to do it in multiple files. One file is fine. Let's go with only one S3 bucket only. No. Okay. So can I also do provider.tf? Yes or no? Output.tf also. Let's go with this is simple. Okay. I have these files main.tf variables, right? And then terraform tf vars and then provide.tf. Out of this, which one I need to create first? Okay, let's do. So the project, not project, it's all about creating what? S3 bucket using tf. This is complete directory structure. So this is the, can you tell me, now we need to start to do this task. Yes, you can do. So we need to do this task. Can you tell me which file I need to create first? Think and tell me. What we do? Provider. So let's go and create a provider first. Okay. This one is destroyed. Yes. So what I do, I'll remove my main.tf. Okay. First, what we need to do? Provider.tf. So do you remember how to write the provider? You can remember, but simply what you do is, I'll show you how to take it from documentation. So Terraform, what's that? Provider. So if you go to the providers, which one? AWS. If you do AWS, do you see this in a use provider? Do you see the code here? Just take this and then put it out here. So what did it mention? So it mentioned clearly the provider information, and here which region? So provider AWS, here we need to what? Delete this and then put what? Region. Region is equal to AP minus search minus 1. Understood how to do the provider.tf? Next. Main. If you want to write a main, you need to call the variables, no? In the main. So without knowing variables, how to call in main.tf? Next, variables. So you can write variables.tf also, or you can write terraform.tf vars, anything, because they, on the both we'll mention the variables. So let's go and create a terraform.tf vars. So terraform dot which one? TF vars. Okay. So in TF vars, what do we mention? We mention only the values. Only what? Values. Variable name and then value. So here the entire task is about what? Creating the S3 bucket. Creating what? S3 bucket. So I need to create what? I need to give the variable or not. So I call it as my bucket, a variable. And what's the bucket name? You can give the value directly. So Terraform bucket hyphen real hyphen 9 a.m. Hyphen BKT something. Something, give some name. It should be unique or not. So I have given these values. Okay, next I need to create what? Variables.tf. So vi variables.tf. Tell me how to write the variable block. variable. What's the variable name? What's the variable name I have given in TF-vars? My bucket. Which one? That the variable name and this variable should be same or not? Yes. So what do you need here? My bucket. Okay. And then block. Okay. Next here. Type is equal to which one? String. So if you want, you can write what? Description. So description, you can write this is uh, DevOps test bucket using Terraform. Give some name. Okay. After that, what in write here? Default. So did we put anything here? You can just put empty because we didn't put the values, or you just remove the defaults completely. No issues. Okay. Did I give any default values here? No. The values have given where? In TF-vars. In what? TF-vars. You're able to get it, Nana? Getting it? Online, you're getting it? So now what we need to create? Next, main.tf. Okay. So tell me. So directly we can write the resource block or not? Do I have to write any provider here? No. So tell me how to write. Resource. AWS underscore. Which service is this? S3 underscore. What resource you are creating? Bucket. So this is a resource type for S3. How do we remember? You need to get from the documentation. Okay. And then here we need to give the variable. So you can give any so example. I don't write. You tell me what I need to write. So here argument is bucket. And how do I call my bucket? Huh? How do I call this? Tell me how. What should I write here? Huh? How do you call a variable from another? Yesterday you wrote the resource file, right? Have you done the practicals? Yes, right? So you wrote a variable.tf tf first, right? And you wrote the main.tf also. In main.tf, you wrote a resource block and instance type is equal to, how did you call the variable? How did you call the variables from variables.tf? Var dot. Say that 3 times. Which one? Which one? How do you call the variables from other file? How do you call the variables in the locally also? Var dot, remember. So var dot, what's the variable name? Right? Okay. You got it? Online, clear? So now, if I do what? Terraform, what do we do? Validate. You got it, Nana? Right? I'm making it very simple. Right? So what you need to do? So create a provider.tf, that is it will be there. We don't need to do any modification. And then what you need to create? TF-vars you have created and give the direct values, and then you have and define the variables there in the variables.tf, and then what is it? Main.tf, you call the variable. Simple as that. No. So Terraform validate. So what we do now? Terraform apply auto -. So what it will create now? Huh? Which one? Which one will create? General only, no? So you need to mention additional value. So we don't create. In S3 also, I didn't put any directory buckets. Directory buckets are billable, right? For if you need directory buckets, you need to have a separate code for it. In documentation, you need to get it. By default, it will be creating which bucket? General bucket. If you don't mention anything, it will create what? General bucket only. So now do you see this here? Bucket has been, say, AWS underscore S3 bucket dot example. So bucket got created, and this is the idea of it. So if I go to my S3, I should be able to see the bucket or not? Okay. Do you see this here? This is the bucket got created. So your cops bucket is still there. Online is clear. Offline clear, Nana? Huh? Okay, I'll do this later. Don't worry. Is it clear, everyone? Hmm? Okay. I'll give one more example. So let's go ahead and then destroy this first. Okay. So same thing. Let's go and launch EC2 instance with the structure. Okay. So same thing. What we do, we will write a main.df, and this time we'll go with the output.tf also. Whatever that we are writing just now before we wrote the output, right? Output variables. How do we call AWS underscore instance dot my instance dot ID public IP, whichever it is. All these things we'll write in the separate output file. I told you there are different types of files, configuration files, main.tf, right? Provider.tf, if required version.tf, backend.tf, we will be learning, right? Variables.tf, tfrs. So I'm using every file to showing you how to do it in real time. Okay. Okay. So what I do is here, what are the files I need to delete? I'll delete what? Main.tf, and then I delete what? Provider do I need to delete? Because we'll use the same provider, no? Next. Okay. Variables.tf. Next. Terraform.tf was enough, no? So do you delete this tf state file? Do not delete. So whatever that we have in the state file, right? So what we have here, do we have anything here in the environment? No. So do you see if we do the cat tf state, do we have anything here? No. What it says here? Null. So do we have any infrastructure created by Terraform? No, we just destroyed, right? It's completely destroyed. Okay. So now let's go ahead and then start writing it. What is the first file that we write? Provider. That's already done. Next, what we do? TFRs. Let's go with the TFRs. You can go with the TFRs also. You can go with what? Variables.tf also. Let's go with Terraform dot which one? TFRs. Okay. So we need to write the variable names. You need to remember, or else you can write that in your paper or somewhere, so that when we call that in the main.tf, you need to give the same. And in variables.tf also, we need to give the same variables. Yes or no? Do you see the link, Nana? So whatever that you have mentioned in the TF bars, you need to mention also in the variables.tf. Whatever that you mentioned in the variables.tf, you need to call that in the main.tf. Do you understand the link? So let's go. AMI. So I'll give the variable as instance underscore AMI. The variable name can be anything or not? Yes. So I'll put what here? Possible? I will now. I will forget again. Huh? Okay. Next. Instance underscore. Watch out the typos. Okay. Spelling mistakes. Instance type. Which one I go? T2 micro. Next. Yeah. So here you are mentioning about the key, right? So I can give here key underscore name. What's the key name? 9 a.m. batch. Yes or no? Your wish. Whatever you want to input values, for launching the EC2 instance, what are the inputs we need? We can mention all these things here. So, and then what I do is I put the name. You can put instance name also. Why I'm putting name here? Because it's not mandatory to put instance underscore name, but it's always good practice to go with instance underscore, so that you can write nicely in the variables.tf. You can remember and write it. But to tell you that it's not mandatory to do like that, I'm just putting what? Name. So here, what's the name? I call it as my, or else, what's that? Sample EC2. Can give anything or not? Yeah. Okay. So do you remember what are the variables are there here? Instance underscore AMI, instance underscore type, key underscore name, and then name. What's the next thing that we need to write? Variables.tf. Okay. So tell me how to write variables block. Variable. Here. Instance underscore AMI. So what are the variables that you have mentioned there in the TFRs? You need to mention the same thing. Type is equal to string. Next, description you can. Is it mandatory? No. So default is equal to, you put empty. So same thing we need to write. Okay. So we just need to what? Modify the values. So instance here, instance type. Next here, key underscore name. Next here, is mandatory to put instance underscore name? Not required, but it's good to have instance. But I'm just putting here name. If required, can you write a description also there? Yes. Right. So next, main.tf. So main.tf. Let's go. Do I do write provider here? No. So directly I can write what? Resource. Tell me what is the resource? Very good. Next. Here I'll write my instance. Next block. What's the argument? AMI. AMI is equal to without that, how can you put it? So online, tell me what I need to write it here. How do you call? Exactly. Other people online. Online, you there? Guys, what? You just taking light or what? Sir, this is related to coding. We don't want this. This is very, very important as a DevOps engineer, right? Online, tell me, what should I write? How do I call a variable here? Offline answered. How about online? Var dot. Var dot variable name. What's the variable name? Instance underscore AMI. Next, what's the argument for instance underscore type? How do I call it? Var dot instance underscore type. Next, key underscore name. How do I call it? Var dot key underscore name. Next, so here name. How do you put? Name should be under the tag, right? And you cannot directly put it. So it should be under the tags. What I need to write? Tags is equal to in the brackets again. So here I need to get the name. Tell me, name is equal to, how do I call it? Var dot name. Clear? Okay, this is done. So what is another file? Outputs. Tell me. So vi output dot tf. Okay. Tell me the output block. So I want output. I want the public IP output. Tell me how do I write it? Output. So here it give the label name, no? Instance underscore public underscore IP. So what's the argument here? Value is equal to, how do I call? Very good. How do I call? AWS underscore instance dot my instance dot public underscore IP. Very good. Very good. So same thing I need to do. I need okay. So this is the public IP. So I need instance ID, Nana. So instance ID. So here instead of public IP, I need to put what? Just put what? ID. So here I need a private IP. So here change it to what? Private IP. Okay. So if you need DNS. If you need ARN, can you print ARN also? Yes, call it as ARN. And then here you need to put what? My instance dot ARN. So if you want to get the properties of it, so we need to check the documentation and get the exact name of it. Is it clear? Online, is it clear? How to write the output? Right? So I showed you TF vars, variables.tf, right? In the provider.tf, output.tf, right? All these things. You understood how to segregate and write the code. Okay? Online is clear, please. So now Terraform, what we do here? Validate. Let's see any kind of errors. So if I do Terraform apply, then what will happen? Auto hyphen approve. So EC2 instance will be launched or not? The values. Is this clear till here, everyone, please? Clear? Offline. Where is Josh? Why you are so silent? Monday effect? Do you see the output? So instance, ARN got printed, instance, ID got printed, instance, private IP, instance, public IP. So now you know how to launch. Guys, we have launched same concept, but we are how many resources I am creating? EC2 instance, one resource. Like this, you need to write the resource blocks. What are the resources that you want to create? You need to keep on increasing the resource block. And if you want the variables, keep on increasing the variables. That's it. If you want to create a VPC, have a resource block of VPC and VPC TF first, put the VPC for setting up. And by the way, so I might forgot, by coming tomorrow to the class, I want you to go through the VPC topic. Remember the first day of VPC, I just gave that 7-8 steps, 10 step, creating a VPC. Next, internet gateway. So public subnet, private subnet, creating internet gateway attached to the VPC, public subnet, private subnet. So go through all these things, because without knowing that theoretical concept, you cannot write the code here automatically. Because in the code, you need to write the resources, right? You don't need to write, at least we have the files, templates are there. You need to understand the templates, right? So, okay, this is getting created. After this is getting created. Routing tables also we need to create. And the routes need to be added. 0.0, all the routes are routed to internet gateway. All the traffic is routed to NAT gateway. So, I want you to go through all these things and come tomorrow, because we will write a VPC things. Got it? So, do you all understood here? So, Kiran is asking, can you show the TF vars? So let's show him the TF vars. Yeah. So if I do any change, I can do only change here, right? Right. So now if I refresh it, so my EC2 instance might have created out here. So do you see sample EC2? Okay now. Okay, I have one question for you. Now I change this sample EC2 hello EC2. Right? Hello EC2. Mute it. You can see me, no? Okay. So from sample EC2, I have changed to what? For example, hello EC2. Now tell me, will it create a new EC2 instance or will it modify this? It will create a new EC2 instance or it will modify? New or modify? Should we test it? So which one I want? Where terraform.tf words. So I change this to I know it even do apply. So what I just do terraform plan. By seeing the output, can you tell me what it's doing? Online. What it's doing? Modifying or not? So because it has launched the EC2, but you are just changing the property of that particular resource. So what is doing? It is modifying. Remember this. It clearly says one to change. And it says, sorry. I told you plus meaning creating new, minus meaning deleting, and tilde meaning updating. So when you see here, name is equal to sample EC2, so yellow color updating to hello EC2. So remember, whenever you are changing, modifying any values, it will modify, it will not create a new things. Is it clear, Nana? Still here? Should I destroy and go to the next concept? So now you know how to launch EC2 instance through Terraform with the real-time directory structures, and also how to create S3 buckets also, right? So slowly I started going little bit deeper because first EC2 instance, next S3, slowly we'll go to VPC, right? Yeah. So before that, let's go with a few topics of Terraform. So meanwhile, what I do, Terraform, destroy, auto, up. Okay. So the next concept here is taint. What's that? Say that again. Somewhere you heard this, right? Huh? In Kubernetes, what concept was that? Taints and tolerance. Remember, what is that relating? Job pod scheduling concept, right? So if you taint any node, right? So if you taint any node, by default, if you don't mention any tolerance in the manifest file, it will not go and sit it. But if you mention the particular tolerance, it will go and sit in there. But will it guarantee? It will not guarantee. Remember? So you need to say this like this in interviews. Taints and tolerance and all, right? Okay. So the concept here is taint meaning, let's say, I have created one EC2 instance in S3 bucket. I have created one EC2 instance in S3 bucket. So guys, in main.tf, do I need to write only one resource? Can I write multiple resources? Multiple resources I can write, right? So assume that I have one EC2 instance resource, I have one S3 bucket resource. Or else in real time, you have so many resources. But what happens is when you're doing this deployment, when you're creating infrastructure, there might be a chance that particular resource, you need to recreate it, or you need to delete it and then recreate it. Let's say you created 50 buckets. Inside that one bucket, name got missed, or one name got, what you call change, or you need to delete that and recreate it. If you want to delete and recreate it, what you need to do? You need to destroy and then apply it again, right? Yes or no? Guys, yes or no? Let's say one EC2 instance, one S3 bucket is there. I want to modify S3 bucket. What you need to do? So you need to destroy and then what? Recreate it. So instead of that, if you have a very big code and if you want to delete only particular resource and then recreate only particular one resource, then what we do? We go and taint it. What we go? We go and taint it. So if you want to recreate specific resource in infrastructure, assume that your infrastructure got VPC, everything got created. Everything got created. Now you want to recreate only one thing, not modification. I'm saying modification meaning you modify it. Just now I showed you. You do the plan and then apply. One resource got will get modified. But I'm telling here, delete and then recreate it. If you want to delete and recreate it, what you need to do? You need to destroy, right? So if you destroy it in that terraform.tf state, it contains entire infrastructure. If you destroy, the entire infrastructure will get destroyed. Instead of that, I want to destroy and recreate only particular resource. So in that case, you need to use what? Taint concept. What is another? Taint concept. You understand the taint? Online. So basically, you are just marking it, saying that this resource will get recreated whenever you apply the Terraform apply command. Got it? No? So when to use this? If you when to use this for failed deployment, any manual changes or any kind of resource corruptions happen. Let's say you launch one EC2 instance that is still in pending state, even though if it is 1 hour, what will you do? Will you manually do it? What do you need to do? Just taint it, no? Taint that resource and then recreate it. Should we do this now? Online? Okay. So what I do, I'll just go and delete everything. RM minus RF. Which one? Main variables, terraform.tf, wars, and then provider, everything. All gone? Okay, Nina? So if I do cat to the terraform.tf state, do we have anything in our infrastructure? No. By seeing this, guys, if your Terraform has created the infrastructure or not, if my infrastructure is empty or not, how do you get to know? Just cat terraform.tf. If you see the null here, that meaning Terraform has not maintaining any infrastructure at the moment. So it doesn't know anything about it. Okay. Okay. Let's go and create our main.tf directly. Main.tf. When time comes, I already showed you different directory structures. When you every time if you want to show small concept, I no need to go for directory structure, right? That's why I'm writing it here. Okay. So in main.tf, what I need to provide? Provider. Okay, go ahead. Provider, AWS region is equal to AP minus south minus 1. Next. Okay. So tell me a resource to launch an EC2 instance directly. Resource AWS underscore instance. Next. I'll call it as what? My instance. Next. Next here. AMI. Next. Instance underscore type. Which one is that? T2 micro. Next. I'll go with what? Tags. So tags is equal to, in brackets, sorry, name is equal to what example? Taint server example. EC2 instance will be launched or not? So can you tell me a resource for creating S3 bucket? Exactly. Resource here AWS underscore S3 underscore bucket. What's the name? What's the label? I call it as my S3 bucket. And then here, what's the argument? Bucket is equal to directly. I'll write test terraform 9 a.m. BKT taint, not taint, demo, something like this. Understood? If the interviewer asks you to write the code, you should write the code like this. Easily you can write, right? You just need to remember. Okay. Okay. So if I apply, what will happen? So if I apply, what will happen now? Terraform. So what will happen now? One EC2 instance and one S3 bucket will get created or not? Yeah, I did create. So what's the command to list the resources from the state file? Terraform state list. So what I do is, now after launching this EC2 instance and creating the bucket, now what I do is, I want only the bucket to get deleted and recreated. So what I need to do, I need to taint that particular resource or not. How do I know that resource? That is from the state file or not? So for that reason here, what's the command to get it? Terraform state list. If we do Terraform state list, do you see two resources are there? What are those? AWS underscore instance dot my instance, AWS S3 bucket dot my S3 bucket. Got it, Nana? So now I want to taint which one? S3 bucket, for example. So tell me how to taint it. Here is Terraform taint. Say that taint. And what's the resource here? AWS S3 bucket dot. Observe the command. So if I hit enter, can you read what it's saying? Resource, this one has been marked as tainted. So if I do Terraform apply hyphen auto hyphen approve. So what will happen here? What will happen if I do this? Huh? What will happen if I apply? So which one? S3 bucket. Do we have any change on the EC2 instance? No. Only S3 bucket will get recreated because it is marked as tainted. So just imagine you have now infrastructure, a lot of infrastructure created. So you can find the resources from the state file and then mark as a taint only a particular resource and then do Terraform apply. What will happen? Only that particular resource will get deleted and then recreated again. So let's do this here. Guys, do you see this here? What is doing? One to add. So what is doing here? My S3 bucket, what is doing here? Destroying. And then destruction complete. And then what is doing? Creating. Which one? My S3 bucket. Does it done anything related to EC2? No. You understand? This is a concept of taint, which is really important sometimes in the real time, because there might be, you also face so many times, right? Sometimes one resource might not work, EC2 might not launch properly, or you have created the wrong things, right? What do you need to do? You need to delete and recreate it, right? So like this we can use. Which concept is this? Taint. So can you taint now EC2 instance and then recreate the EC2 instance or not? How to do that? I'll not do it, but you tell me how to do that. Terraform. You need to know the resource, right? Terraform state list. Find out the resource and then what do you do? Terraform taint and then resource name. Got it now? So if you want to untaint it, untaint. Simple. So see here. Terraform taint. Guys, Terraform taint. Let's say I'm tainting this one. So this has been marked as what? Tainted. If I do apply, EC2 instance will be terminated and then relaunched. But if I want to untaint, what I need to do? Just go ahead and then untaint it. Whatever the commands that you are doing it here, everything will get updated in the state file. Remember, Terraform works based on the state file only. Remember that. If you do anything to the state file, not good. Okay. So no, taint, another replacement, another command is replace. What's that? Replace. But we'll not be using replace. But if anyone are using it, you can use that replace. So how they do is Terraform apply hyphen auto. I'll not be doing it, but I'm showing you. Approve hyphen what? Replace is equal to, and put the resource name. What is the resource here? Like this. Another command. Instead of taint, so instead of tainting, you can use what? Replace command also. If you use replace, what will happen? only that EC2 instance will get replaced. So the best command replace a taint. I would go for taint. If you don't want to taint, you directly know the resource and then you want to replace it, you can use -replace also. Okay. Online, this is clear till here? Okay. So the next important thing is Terraform locals. Say that. Say that again. Next concept is Terraform locals. Local meaning, it's like a local variables only, right? So whatever the values that you have mentioned inside that, you can use that variables inside the same configuration file. Okay. So what we call it as Terraform locals. So input variables meaning you're passing from outside, right? Input variables meaning you're passing from outside of the configuration file. But these Terraform locals you're passing within the configuration file, inside the configuration file. Okay. So if you want to use Terraform locals, so you need to use a resource, you need to use a block called what here? Locals. What is it here? Locals. So let's go into it. So what we do is we will go and write main.tf. We will mention the local variables, and then in the resource we'll call the local variables. Previously, we have input the variables from outside, variables.tf, or as input variables, we can pass -var is equal to, you can pass the variables. But here we are going for Terraform locals concept. Say that. Terraform locals. Let's go for it. So what I do, let's go and remove main.tf. Okay. Very important and little bit concentration is required. Okay. Let's go for it. Main.tf. Okay now. So here, if you want to mention the locals, so what is the block you need to write here? Locals. Say that. What's the block you need to write? Locals. Yeah. So let's go for it. Locals. Okay. So here I'm writing a variable names called project underscore name. Say that. Project underscore name. So the project name is a variable. I call it as my my awesome DevOps. So environment I'm writing. So environment students. Okay. And then I'm writing another variable called instant count. How many? 2. Okay. You understand? I'm writing the variables in the same main.tf using a block called locals. What is that? Locals. So now I'm writing what here? Tags. See here. In tags, what I need to mention? I need to mention what here? Name. So I want to put the EC2 instance name. I want to mention the EC2 instance name. Directly you can mention in double quotes EC2 instance name. But I want to call this project name and environment here automatically. I want EC2 instance name is with the project name and environment name. So remember, if you want to call within the block a variable, you always need to go with the dollar symbol. What's that? Dollar. Dollar in brackets. So what's the block name here? Locals, right? So generally if it is variables, we'll put var dot, right? Now we need to put what? Local dot. It's not local. It is not locals. It is local dot. What's the variable name? Project underscore. Guys, now tell me. What will be the EC2 instance name now? Huh? What is my EC2 instance name? That's it. Because here I have mentioned the locals in the variable name here, project name. I'm just calling that variable here with what using dollar symbol in parenthesis local. Guys, the block name is locals, but here you need to call it as what? Local dot. What is here? project name. So my EC2 instance name will be my awesome DevOps. Okay, now I modify like this here. What is my EC2 instance name now? Tell me completely. Louder. It's you only. Yes or no? So what is the name? My awesome DevOps hyphen students you will get. Exactly, Rashmita. My hyphen awesome hyphen DevOps hyphen students, I get it. You understand how to call a variable within the block? Understood? Okay, nice. Okay, I wrote the variables. Now let's go and write a resource for it. How to write a resource to launch an EC2 instance? Resource AWS underscore instance. My instance. Okay. Put what? AMI is equal to, remind me, next what? Instance. Instance type is equal to, which one? T2 micro. Okay. Now I'm calling count. How do I call? I have an argument called count. How do I call? In the variable, what is the variable we have for the count? Instance underscore count. And how do I call it here? Is it variable block? Which block is that? Local. Then what? How should I call? Local dot instance underscore exact. Getting it? Super. Okay. Tags. How do I call the tags? Local dot tags. Here. There's a block, no? Observe this. And then I'll write the output also for this. Output. I want instance IDs. Guys, instance underscore IDs. See here. How many EC2 instances are there here? How many EC2 instances? 2. And how do I print? Generally, I showed you how to print only 1. So if I, okay, value. How do I print? How do I call to print it? AWS underscore instance dot my instance. Generally, if you have multiple EC2 instances, Terraform will understand in the form of indexes, right? In the bracket 0, 1, 2, 3 will be there. So if I want to print everything in brackets, what I need to put? Star and then dot ID. So what it is printing now? It is printing the instance IDs. Which instance ID? Both 2 instance IDs. Because here, if you put only here 0, then only 1. If I put this one, the second one. Right? If I put star, understood? Try to understand the code. You understand the resource block, Nana? Try to read it. Try to see from top. Understood the code? Online? Now what is the EC2? So now if I run it, what will happen? It will launch the EC2 instance name with my awesome DevOps student. That's it or not? So now I have launched EC2 instance many times till now, but I have used different concepts to launch an EC2 instance. I have used main.tf directly launching the EC2 instance. I use variable.tf also to launch an EC2 instance. And now I'm using which concept? Locals concept also to launch an EC2 instance. You see different multiple ways I'm showing you, right? So guys, if I do just Terraform validate, okay, AMI. I always forget that AMI. Yeah. But if I do Terraform, just a plan. Guys, instead of apply, it will take time to launch an EC2 instance. I'll just do what? Plan. So what is launch? What is printing here? EC2 instance. Okay, I didn't destroy the previous one. No? Okay, now it is destroying the taint example. S3 bucket is also destroying. You understand the locals concept? So if I apply, this will take a lot of time to apply and destroy. So next time I don't apply it. So what I do now, Terraform just plan. So do you see? Now, if I run this, my expectation is what? Outputs, it will print two EC2 instance IDs or not. Do you see this here? Instance IDs will know after the apply. That meaning, if you go and do the apply, automatically two EC2 instances will be launched using what concept? Terraform locals concept. I am doing the plan here, but in your practice, you should do apply. Okay? Online, this is clear? Okay. So let me give one more example now. I showed you how to launch S3, how to launch EC2 instances with multiple concepts and then S3 bucket also. Now let's go the actual one. How to create a VPC. How to create what? VPC, how to create a VPC and then how to create a subnet inside it. Whatever the concept that we have learned, we'll use that concept and create it. Okay. Let's do, I'll remove what? Main.tf. Let's go. Don't worry, it's easy. Okay, so what we need to mention first? Provider. Gosh. It's acting weird. Okay. So provider, tell me Nana. AWS. Region is equal to which one? AP minus South minus 1. So guys, you know how to create a VPC, right? Now let's go and create a VPC. So what we need to do, we need to write a resource block. So resource block always start with what? AWS underscore which service? VPC. So it will create what here? VPC. What's the label name I'm giving here? My VPC. Okay, now. So now here what I need to do, in order to create a VPC, what is the first thing that we provide? In order to create a VPC, what is the input we need to provide to the VPC? Huh? What we need to provide? You click on create VPC. What do you need to provide? Huh? Louder, yeah? No, not in a. While creating a VPC, what do we input the value? CIDR, no. What is that? CIDR. So to create a VPC, what do we need to have? CIDR, right? So here we have CIDR underscore what? Block is the argument. Okay, tell me the CIDR sample that we use. 192.168.00/16. So, and we need to give the name, right? Name of the VPC. So tag. Okay, here what we write? name is equal to, I didn't mention any variables here. So that meaning here I can directly mention the value. So I call it as prod hyphen VPC. You understand how to create a VPC? Okay. So we created VPC. We'll create one subnet here. What's that? Subnet. While creating a subnet, here and what is that question mark IP range question mark? You are forgetting this, how to ask the question. Okay, so tell me how to create a subnet. What is that? Resource AWS underscore what on here? Subnet. And what is in here label name? I'm writing it as subnet 1. Remember, to create a subnet, while creating a subnet, we need to select the VPC. That's the reason why I said, I want you tomorrow to, while coming, create a VPC manually from the console and then come, so that it will be easy for you to write the code. Now, that's the reason why I asked. If you click on create VPC, what is the input value that you give? Now you are not responding. What is the input that you need to give? CIDR. And then what is the input you give? Name, right? Okay. After, while creating a VPC, what is that? While creating a subnet, what is the input that you give? This is what I want you to, right? No. Right? For subnet, what we need to do? We need to select the VPC ID or not? First, we need to select what? In VPC. Yeah. So VPC ID. Now, while creating a subnet, that subnet should be inside the VPC or not? Which VPC? What's the VPC name here? My VPC is the label name. The name of the VPC is prod VPC. Remember. Okay. So now, this subnet should be inside this VPC. So in that case, how do you call this VPC here? Where is local block? How do I call this block here? What is the resource type there? AWS underscore VPC. What is that? AWS underscore dot VPC. What is the label name? My VPC. And how to get the ID? Dot ID. If I do like this, that meaning this subnet will be created inside the VPC ID. Tell me again. So I'm now creating a subnet. While creating a subnet, we need to select the VPC or not. So while creating a subnet, we need to select the VPC. So how to select the VPC here? So what's the argument? VPC underscore ID is equal to, and how to get the VPC here? AWS underscore VPC dot my VPC dot, what is that? ID. And for subnet also, I need to give the CIDR block or not. So here CIDR underscore block is the argument, CIDR block. So what's the CIDR for the subnet? 192.168.1.0/24. So while creating a subnet, what are the things we need? We need to have availability zone we need to select or not. So here we need to select what? Availability underscore zone. What's the availability zone? AP-south. Guys, I'm writing all the values here, but can I write on the terraform.tfrs also? Okay, what else we need for the subnet? We need to give the name of the subnet or not? So we need to put what here? Tags. What's the name of the subnet? I call it as prod subnet. What's that here? Prod subnet. This is clear. What I wrote here, I created a VPC, I created a subnet. So subnet should be inside the VPC. How do I call the VPC here? This is very important line. How do I call any resource in the any other resource block? You need to use the resource type dot my VPC dot and then property. If I want to use the subnet ID, how do I call the subnet ID then? AWS underscore subnet dot subnet1 dot ID, like this. Okay, now I created a subnet. So we need to launch EC2 instance or not? So let's go and launch EC2 instance. Tell me how to launch an EC2 instance. So resource, what's the resource type? AWS underscore instance. I call it as here. Label name is my instance. Okay. So here, what we need to do? While launching the EC2 instance, we need to select the subnet or not? I want that subnet to be here. How do I select the subnet? So the subnet underscore ID is equal to, how do I select the subnet? AWS underscore subnet dot subnet1 dot super. Next I need to mention what? AMI. Next I need to mention what? Instance type. Instance type is what here? T2 micro. Next I need to mention the tags. So name is equal to what server? Prod hyphen server. So you understand how to create a VPC with only one subnet. I started with this, how to create a VPC with only one subnet. I have launched the EC2 instance inside that. So later what we do, we create a VPC, we'll create an internet gateway, we'll create what? NAT to public subnet, private, and all the keep on resources that we need to keep on writing it like this. And how to call the other resource in the another block using that resource type dot label dot the property. Is it clear? Online, this is clear, Nana? So if I run this, what will happen? A VPC will get created and then what will create? So here someone is asking, Omkar, sir, don't we mention the VPC ID here? So we already selected what? The subnet, and this subnet is already inside the VPC. If required, you can call the VPC here. You know how to call a VPC, how to call AWS underscore VPC dot my VPC dot ID. So, hey, Kiran, guys, you need to understand. I'm not putting everything here. I'm making sure that to show you step by step how to write it. So can't I put security group? Can't I put key pair? You can put everything here. But slowly, if you want to keep on writing, so keep on writing, the number of resources need to be increased. So if I run this, what will happen? A VPC will be created and EC2 will launch inside the subnet or not? Okay. Now tell me here. So which is the word which is commonly getting repeated? Prod, right? What is it here? Prod VPC. Here, prod subnet. And then here, prod server. So instead of repeating this prod server, prod VPC, prod something, can I create a variable here? Can I create a variable using locals? Previously, we just locals in bracket environment is equal to prod. So how do I call it here, prod then? How do you call? Previously, I used local block, right? How do you call the variables inside it? Using which symbol? Dollar symbol in brackets, you get the values there. Guys, see here. So I created a VPC. Now, I wrote what here? Locals, env is equal to what here? Prod. And how to call this env? Dollar local dot env. So now I'll get here prod VPC, and here also prod subnet, here also prod server. So if you just change this prod to dev, then everything will become dev. So do you all understood how to create a VPC and then how to call a local block inside it? Clear? Online. Will you able to do this till here? Clear? Any questions? Online. I did run this, but in your practice, you just try to do Terraform apply, and the VPC will get created. And then later, what you do, you come and change this to your add the local block, and then call the local variables here. Okay. Online. Any questions? Understood now? Today's topic. So what all the things we have learned today? Launching EC2 instance with a directory structure, creating the S3 package with directory structure. Then we went for tains, and then we went for Terraform locals. And then we also launched the VPC with the EC2 instance and how to call the locals inside the configuration file. Clear? Will you able to do this? Okay, Nana. Can I get the final CC for today, please, online? Guys, Terraform is all about practice. Practice how many times that you please spend some time on the Terraform. How much time that you write the code, that will be helpful for you, and you'll get habituated. You'll understand a lot. So today's VPC topic is very important. And tomorrow while coming, please go ahead. Please go with the entire VPC topic. Manually create it and come. And tomorrow I'll be asking, while creating a subnet, what are the inputs that you have given? While creating internet gateway, what are the inputs you have given? While attaching the routing tables, what are the inputs that you have given? Please, it's highly recommended to go and then create a VPC manually tomorrow and come. Okay? Okay, so that is all. Let's connect tomorrow with the continuation of this Terraform. Until then, take care, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.